Hi, I'm Felicia Gibson, Managing Director at FELSA Limited, an education management and software company based in the UK. FELSA developed PAGS. PAGS is a profile assessment and goal setting, an online profiling and monitoring tool. Today, I have the honor to have Scilla Allen, an educational consultant with 30 years of experience in the mainstream and special education, working in the international educational system, mostly within Kenya. Scilla is our affiliated PAGS partner in Kenya. How are you, Scilla?
I'm very well, thank you, Felicia. It's very nice to speak to you today.
Scilla, tell us a little bit about your experience and everything that you do in Kenya. And let's start with your location.
Well, I live on the equator in an area called Laikipia in northern Kenya, on a small farm, small holding that I'm working at developing. That's my little house that you can see there. So I'm having fun combining education and farming. I've lived in Kenya all my life. I'm Kenyan and I am passionate about education and helping children.
Fabulous, and this is really exciting. What kind of other activities do you do on a farm? Can you tell us a little bit?
Oh, well, we're developing this farm from scratch. I only moved up here this time last year. Here you can see we are planting out pyrethrum, which is a natural insecticide. I'm just developing a mixed farming. I'm also developing a small camp so that I'm hoping that children will come for tutoring and assessments and education on the farm. So we'll have a training center on the farm as well as farming. So there'll be learning and farming and loving life going on.
Oh, this is really exciting. So, and this is also sustainable development beginning. And I know you are passionate about education and everything you do. And from your point of view, what skills are important for early childhood development?
I think people tend to get really locked in on the academics and we lose sight of the core early childhood prerequisite skills that we need that include communication, social interaction, self-regulation. And we need to make sure that we are prioritizing these skills. And if these kids have these prerequisite skills, the learning side of it is going to happen, and it's going to happen much more appropriately. So that's what I love about your product, PAGS, because it focuses on those core skills that we really need to be homing in on.
This is very important for us, and it is a lot of hype about neurodiversity. And neurodiversity, I'm just quoting, neurodiversity is not one condition or one area of cognition. The neurodiversity is looking at the spiky cognitive profiles. So what does neurodiversity mean to you, Scilla?
I think we have to make sure we maintain a positive attitude. We are all different and we need to celebrate that. And I think that yes, different children have different challenges, different adults have different challenges. And I think we need to celebrate the diversity part of it, because that is really important. And by homing in on supporting the right skills for the neurodiverse student or child, we can help them become their best self and support them and help them be successful in life. That's what it's all about.
And also I will add that we unlock their potential, because we understand where their strengths are and what they will need to develop. So now we are living into a pandemic. This is the
COVID-19.
COVID-19, so this interview is also very actual. And then us teachers, as educators, we've been very resourceful and we've been very inventive and finding ways to help the learners wherever they are. And it says, how can we support neurodiverse learner when schools reopen? And what do we do today first, and then
I
how?
was just going to say, I think it's a matter of how we support these children at home, as well as how we support them when they go back to school. I think this is a fabulous opportunity for these kids, our neurodiverse learners, because working from home, they can focus on more self-paced learning, which I think is really, really, really important. And often it's a very important tool for supporting these kids. But I think the really important thing is making sure that the parents feel empowered, and that the schools feel that when those children come back, they're going to be able to carry on in a seamless format. And I think having a thread like the PAGS program is going to allow for that transition. And I think making sure that we focus on those core skills now while they're at home will mean that when they do go back to school, they're going to be in a better position to actually achieve at the academic level.
This is incredibly actual, and it also points out that what we do as educators, how we design the online learning, is very important. So for instance, I'm just quoting one of the parents that we work with, and she was saying that the instructional, the task the school sent to her child to complete at home, so it was a task that took actually them 3 hours to complete it. So they look at what they have in the stock cupboard, and looking at the expiring date, first in, first out. And then a task like that, which would have been simple for, let's say, for a neurotypical child, for this particular case, took actually 3 hours. So if you're a parent and you have to work, and also have to have some instructional tasks from the school, is one thing. But also we know that engagement and the content that we deliver is very important. And do children communicate through their behavior, Scilla? What do you think?
Well, they absolutely do. And it's an interesting conundrum I find myself, and I think probably the parents find themselves in at the moment. Because of the home learning, I'm doing a lot of I am tutoring online. Now, if I have a neurodiverse child that's in a room in another country, and they decide to get up and walk away, there's not a lot I can do from here. So yes, they certainly do communicate through their behaviors. And for me, finding a way to engage that student and keep them in the room is really important. So that's what I love about the PAGS program, because we are focusing on communication skills, we're focusing on social skills. And it's really interesting how you may have a child that is academically really challenged, socially and behaviorally really challenged, but often deep down they have those skills, they have those behavior patterns that will keep them in the room. But if we can help them find the language, find the vocabulary to express their concerns, express their frustration, they are then going to be able to communicate with us, whether it's remotely through the computer or whether it's directly with their parents. And the parents will then have the opportunity to develop the vocabulary and the language to communicate with their children. And communication is so important. And we tend to forget how important it is, and how, if you're not good at it, how difficult it can be.
Absolutely. Do you have any, I remember that we have, you mentioned an anecdote.
I had a child who I was working on who is actually in a different country, which is the advantage of me being able to tutor online. I'm not limited to geographical location. And this child was being very, very disrespectful and didn't want have the lesson and wanted to go and play with his Lego. And I was very clear and direct with him and pointed out that he was being very rude and that I didn't really like the behavior and the language he was using. By the end of that session, he was fully engaged and we had a very successful lesson. But more so, it was the email that I got from the parent afterwards who went, "Oh, thank you. It was so good to hear somebody else being clear and direct with him." And the thing is that if we don't, community behavior, kids are telling us something. And we need to be able to read those behaviors. And nonverbal communication is a very, very important communication tool. And we often have to verbalize and back up nonverbal communication with our words, because they're not necessarily going to pick up. You and I would be able to recognize if I was being cross, you would be able to tell it without me using those words. But often I have to make sure that I say to the child, right now you're being very rude and very unkind, and it's not nice. And it usually you can re-engage with them and help them recognize their own non-verbal communication and their own behaviors. And the more we actively do that, the more we're helping those children learn a life skill.
This is very, very important. And from your perspective, why does the PAGS program appeal to you?
Because it does exactly what we've just been talking about. It focuses in on those prerequisite skills, those core cognitive skills, the social skills, the communication skills, the self-regulation skills. And the thing is that it's all very well me saying to a parent, you need to help your child build that emotional vocabulary. But if they don't know how to do that, it's a pointless advice for me to give them. But if I can give them and put them onto the PAGS program, I'm then giving them the tools. So when I say you need to teach your child to self-regulate, I'm saying, and this is how to do it. So the parents can feel empowered and they can feel that there's a way that they can do this. And by keeping those 4 core threads on the table, you're developing a balanced approach to creating a holistic child. So if those 4 core skills, that cognition, the social interaction, the communication and the self-regulation, and by focusing on those 4 and looking at them in baby steps and taking it 1 step at a time, suddenly those children are going to be able to engage with the curriculum and engage with their community. And they are going to be in a position where they can actually start to meet grade level expectations.
So what do we mean by a learning profile? Because all those 4 modules create a learning profile.
Yeah. And of course, every child, every person has a different profile. A lot of my work is involved with assessing kids, because knowledge is power. And until we know why a child's breakdown in learning is happening, we don't know how to actually intervene, how to bring in the correct tools to help them be successful. And I find assessing kids and assessments fascinating. It's like unpicking a puzzle, because until I know what pieces are there and what pieces are missing, I don't know how to put it all back together again. And I don't know which of your threads, of the PAGS threads, to really, really home in on. So by looking at a profile, you can really start looking at where the breakdown is happening. So it's all very well having the core potential or not having the core potential, which is kind of like the size of the engine in the bonnet if we're talking about a car. Mm-hmm. We also need to have the processing systems in place to access that potential. So if we stick with the car, it's no good having a VX Prado or a great big Mercedes-Benz in the car park. If there's no wheels on the car or no petrol in the engine, that engine is not going to get you anywhere. So you need these prerequisite skills. You need the processing systems in place. You need the attention, the executive functioning, the motivation. You need all these skills in place to help the child access that potential and turn it into learning. And one of those core skills is these kind of PAGS, the skills that PAGS focuses. I kind of think about a kitchen stool. If you want to be able to sit on that stool, you need all 4 legs to be the same level and the same strength for that seat to be able to take your weight. And if you think of the core potential as being 1 stool, 1 leg, and your core processing systems, things like memory, processing speed to being another leg, motivation and executive functioning to being another leg, and of course that core, the communication, the cognition, and that self-regulation is really important as that 4th leg. And if you can get those legs balanced, suddenly you're going to have a level seat that the child can stand on and climb and succeed. So learning profile, that is, I need to know where the breakdown is happening. Why is this child not able to perform at the level we would expect it to? So doing an assessment is really important. Now, I use a lot of different tools to assess, and I may come up with a core profile of where the child's potential is, but also where their processing is, where their sensory development is, where their behavior is. The PAGS assessment is great because it breaks down those 4 skills that we were talking about, the cognition, the communication, the self-regulation. It breaks those down into steps that we now have a baseline. We now know where we are, and we now know we have a path that we need to focus on and walk down to get them to that level playing field.
This is almost telling us that PAGS is what makes PAGS unique?
Well, what I love about the PAGS is that it is a bridge, it is a link between all the people that are around this child, the parents, the school, any kind of tutors or therapists that are in there. It can be the communication tool that everybody uses to help understand where the breakdown, help know how to support this child. So it's a thread, it's a chain, it's a bridge, it's a link, and it's so versatile. And what I love about it is its flexibility. It's not rigid. It's not one way of doing something. You can use the PAGS to your own benefit, and you can take as much from it or as little from it as you want to. But it gives you the vocabulary to communicate with the school and the parents. It gives you the tools to support the child. It helps you have a road to progress. And if you just follow those steps and follow the path, suddenly you're going to find this child is performing, not suddenly, but it is going to allow you to find your way to a place where that student is being successful, and they are able to engage in life skills as well as academic progress through having these steps and taking these steps.
So going to this slide is, I have, let's say I'm a parent. So how can PAGS support me as a parent?
Well, we talked about the fact that it can be a bridge. So how can it be that bridge? How does it work as a link between school and home? Especially when you've got working parents or you've got parents in lockdown. Knowing what's going on at the school, or knowing how to support your child while they're being taught online. How do I engage with the school? How do I engage with the student? By using the PAGS, you will find that it helps you develop the vocabulary. It helps you develop the communication that you need to be able to talk to the school and discuss what are we meant to be focusing on now? How do I help my child learn? How do I help my child deal with the frustrations or the fears that they are facing through either online learning or directly in the classroom? How do I help my child develop an understanding of why they are not succeeding when others are? So having that communication and having the vocabulary to engage with the school is really important. For the school, they may know how to help their child, but if we go back to the parent one a moment, but as a parent, you don't necessarily know. So it's all very well saying we're going to help develop communication, but how do I do that? PAGS has really clear, very, very accessible setup strategies. So if you don't know, if you're not a trained teacher and you don't know how to help your child, PAGS provides that information. They provide that support and the strategies, very, very accessible strategies for you. It's very, very accessible program. So being able to upload and store data, and whether it's a video or a photo or a document, it's really easy to be able to upload it and record it as progress. And then suddenly you can go back over the last month, the last 6 weeks, the last week, depending on how often you're inputting information, and you can start seeing the effects and the progress that your child is making. You know, often with mainstream situations, the steps are too big. So you can't, you know, your child has made progress, but you can't see it. There's no evidence. With PAGS, because the steps are much more structured and micro steps, you can see progress being made. And as we can see in this slide, it helps you break it down so that you can see where you need to refocus your attention and how far you are towards achieving that goal. So it's accessible, it's supportive, and it's lovely to be able to really get strong visual evidence of the progress that's being made. And it means that as a family, you know, when your child has a temper tantrum, you've got the resources in place through the PAGS program as to how to deal with it. So the whole family, not only the child, not only you, the parent, but the whole family are then supported and can feel empowered and can work together towards meeting that child's needs and feel as if they are supporting and going forwards in a positive way.
So Scilla, as we conduct this interview, I'm going to the next question. I am a school and I would like to contact you, and how PAGS can actually support me if I'm a school and I'm looking, planifying and getting this program in.
And you see, often schools feel that they have a curriculum, they have systems in place, they have a special needs department, they have all of this in place. What do you want us just to add yet another layer to the whole thing? And for them, they feel it may mean more work, but in fact, what PAGS will do is actually create a really effective thread through their curriculum and through their communication with the home. So PAGS, for a start, will give those effective baselines on the skills that they are not assessing as a school. They're assessing English progress, they're assessing maths, history, geography, they're assessing academic progress. But what we need to know is how are they doing with the those prerequisite skills that we talked about? Self-regulation. Why do we need to, how can the school know how a child is doing in that? PAGS will create that baseline so that they've got that, and it's quick and easy to do. It gives them, but again, if they may feel that they have the tools in place, they have the strategies, they have the interventions, they don't want yours, which is fine. They don't have to use the PAGS strategies if they don't want to. If they feel that they have their own resources, they can implement their own approach. But what the PAGS will do is provide a platform for them to monitor that progress and upload that progress. So whether it's the home that is using the PAGS strategy and the school is using their own strategy, it still creates a common platform where everybody can upload evidence of progress, or the opposite. Where it can be looked at in one place and we can get that documented evidence of what's going on. One of the things that's really important for both parents and the schools to understand is that these are skills that should not be taught in isolation. You don't sit down and have a PAGS lesson in the same way that you have an English lesson. These are threads, these are traits that need to permeate through the whole day, whether it's a lesson, whether it's a PE lesson, whether it's social on the playing field, whether it's at home. These are threads that should be throughout the whole child's day. We are looking at the child as a holistic child, and we need to help develop those as a theme that is integrated into math, into English, into assembly, into lunch hours, into playgrounds. these are themes that are going to allow the child and support the child to be successful in every environment. So by providing the PAGS platform, everybody is on board with knowing what that child's target is for this week. And it might be that it is engaging effectively, making eye contact when they talk to an adult. So if a student is in the playground and a teacher is on duty, and that child comes running up, looks the teacher in the eye and says, "Please, miss, where will I find a football?" They're immediately going, "Whoa, that was fantastic, that was awesome, well done." And they can go and document that evidence of progress that that child has made. And it's just natural. It's just a thread that is in the fabric of the whole day. And that's where PAGS is so powerful, because it is that fabric that is integrated and interwoven into all aspects of the child's day.
So this is...
and of course, it then allows that communication to happen.
Yeah, makes us so exciting. And I think you already been working with schools in Kenya, in Nairobi. And I also know that you work closely with parents, and you yourself, as you said, you've been tutoring. So do you have any evidence, like for instance, from the parents to tell us how well do they do?
Well, this is a parent of a child in Nairobi who, and it was very interesting, because when I first assessed this student and met with the school, there was quite a clash between the parent and the school, mainly because the school were drowning. They didn't know how to support this child. They didn't know how to go forwards. The parent was frustrated because they couldn't see any progress happening. And so everybody was bashing heads. I assessed the student, and by being able to show the parents and the school the expectations of this child, we were able to modify expectations and change the whole focus and the whole aim of the development and the way forward for this child as to developing life skills. And PAGS was a really, really important thread for this, together with Nazia, who is a wonderful person for working with these kids that have global developmental delays. And the combination, the school suddenly had a way to support this child without feeling inadequate and frustrated. His shadow teacher had a curriculum and a direction and a way to monitor progress. And the parents had evidence and could see what they could do. They could get involved. So rather than feeling as if they were on the outside of this child's learning, they became an integral part of this child's learning. So everybody who was working to support this child could come together, and PAGS became a common platform of communication that everybody it gave us a common language. It gave us an effective platform on which to document our progress, but we all had this common language and this common area of communication. And it's been quite emotional and exciting to see this parent suddenly go from that place of despair to this place of real excitement as to what they can do. And now they can start seeing a way forward for their student. The other thing about PAGS being online, I mean, I'm working with a child in 3 different African countries through the PAGS program. And in all areas, it is equally successful in engaging and creating that common ground. So the distance is not a barrier, and PAGS takes those barriers away, takes the borders away, and levels the playing field so that we've got that communication thread through which, and that platform through which we can engage with each other. It's great.
So this is a projection to the future, I would say, because we look at education without frontiers, and we're looking at virtual learner that can learn from anywhere in the world. So if they wish to contact you, Scilla, so they could access your website is there. www.eftienterprise.com. The PAGS profile is www.pagsprofile.com, and worldwide we also have the telephone